Welcome to the Family Coding event, the Ajax Public Library. My name is Larry Rose, and thank you for joining me here today. We're going to learn a little bit about Scratch coding. You may have heard of that. It is it's a very easy language to learn, and once you get the basics, you're going to be able to do some really interesting things. So again, thanks for joining me here today. And this event is being recorded, so you can see it later on at your leisure. Okay. Let us begin. It's best viewed on a desktop where you have a bigger screen. You can also do this on an iPad, but the more screen you have, the better it is to be able to, like, a lot of the things are not hidden when you have a bigger screen. And also, at the end of this little demonstration, I'm going to give you a secret code for those who are doing the summer reading club. So stick around for that. And so let's learn a little bit about Scratch. It's there we go. It's a free programming language that you can download right from the internet. Well, you actually don't download it. You just go to the web page, and you can create your own stories and games and animations, and you'll be able to manipulate little cartoon characters, get them to do things. And do you have to know programming? No. It's logic. So if you want a character to move 5 spaces to the right, you would just, you wouldn't do it by programming. You would just take some blocks and you move them where you want them, so that, and the block says move 5 spaces. So you're not actually typing in programming, you're moving blocks. Okay, and I'm going to show you how easy this is. And again, yes, it can be used on a tablet, but I recommend as big a screen as possible. All right, are you ready? The Scratch website is located, just going to bring it up here. This is the Scratch website, scratch.mit.edu. If you go to that web page, this is where it all happens. Okay, now, for those of you who are already familiar with Scratch, you might want to click on ideas, because there you'll find tutorials, self-paced tutorials that you can work on at your own pace. But today, for this, I'm going to go through the very basics of how to use Scratch. And so for our purposes here today, what you need to do is you can actually use Scratch without an account, without a Scratch account, but it's better if you make a Scratch account. There's my Scratch account right there, Music Man. And the reason you want to create a Scratch account is because it lets you save your work for future. All right. So after you have created your account, you don't have to. Again, if you don't have an account, that's okay. The first thing you'll do, whether you have an account or you don't have an account, is you'll click on Create. And when you click on Create, a screen is going to come up. And we're just waiting for that screen. This is going to be a blank project, and we're going to work from here. So what are you looking at right here? This is the main Scratch screen. What you see on the left side are a bunch of blocks, programming blocks. And what we're going to do is we're going to take some of those blocks and move them into the center where it's blank in the middle. We're going to drag them over. And why are we doing this? It's so that we're going to get that cat to do things, to move. Okay? It's easy. And so to summarize, your goal is to make the cat move by using certain programming blocks. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is we have to, how do you tell the cat that a program is about to run? The cat doesn't know when to start. So if you'll notice, there's a little flag at the top, a little green flag. So we have to take one of those blocks, and we have to drag one of those blocks over so that it tells Scratch that when we click on that green flag, the cat's going to do something. So which block do we drag? There's a lot of different colors. You've got motion, you've got looks, you've got sound, you've got events. And if you click on events, the little events icon, all of the blocks are orange because those are event related. And when you click on a flag, that's an event. So we're going to see where it says when green flag clicked. We are going to drag that right over to the middle. And that is the start of every Scratch program. When the green flag is clicked, then do the following. We haven't done the following yet. Okay. So how do we make this cat move? Well, let's take a look at our choices on the very left side. We've got sensing, we've got variables, we've got looks, and one of them says motion. So that might be the one that we're going to use to get the cat to move. So the goal is whenever you click on the flag, I want the cat to move 25 steps. How would we do that? Well, let's click on the motion tab. And when we have motion, now we have a lot of choices in motion. All of the blue blocks. Which one do we do? Well, we want to move the cat 25 steps, but there's one that says move 10 steps. So that's close, right? Why don't we use that one? And then we'll change it once we drag it over. So I'm going to drag this, move, and I'm going to put it under until it clicks. But I said I wanted 25 steps, and that only says 10. Well, we can change that right here by just clicking, double-clicking, and changing that to 25. Okay, did that work? Let's see if that worked. We're going to click this little green flag right here and watch the cat. I'm going to click it again and again. So it is moving 25 steps. Okay. Okay. And if I keep clicking it, watch what happens. The cat eventually goes off the screen, but we don't want that. So how do you stop the sprite from going off the screen? Well, that's an event. And so we're going to click on the blue events, sorry, the blue motion. And we're going to look for one of the blocks in there says if on edge bounce. We're in the motion one. Look for something that says if on edge bounce. And we see it right here, if on edge bounce. And we're going to drag that one. If on the edge bounce. Okay, did that work? Let's click our green flag and see. I'm clicking, I'm keeping clicking, and so it does bounce, although it does walk upside down, but every time I click on it, on the green flag, once it hits the edge, it bounces and it goes back. We're gonna fix that, don't worry. Okay, so you're already making animation here, okay? This is a good thing. So that's kind of neat, but I don't want the cat to be walking upside down. So we can fix that. So that's a rotation style. And that is also, I believe, in the blue category. And we're going to look for something that says set rotation style. Set rotation style to left and right. Oh, there it is. Do you see it right here? Set rotation style to left and right. And we're going to drag this one until it clicks. And you'll notice here there's choices here. You could go left or right, or don't rotate, or all around, but we want left and right. Did that work? Let's find out. I'm going to press the green flag again. I'm continuing to press the green flag. It's moving 25 steps at a time. Let's see what happens when it hits the edge. Okay, so you are already programming. By dragging these blocks, you are already programming. With me so far? Okay. How do you save your code? What if you have to go away and come back to it later? Well, there is a little save. There should be a save icon on your screen where you can save. I think it's called Save Now, whenever you make a change. Now this white background is okay, but what if you wanted something that's more colorful? Here's the procedure to have something different rather than the white background. If you'll notice, at the bottom right corner, you'll see there is a little button called Backdrops. And if you click on it, it gives you a whole bunch of choices. And if you see, you scroll down, you see a whole bunch of different, these are just backgrounds. So I kind of like the beach. So I'm going to choose Beach Malibu. Instant background. Oh, okay. What if you wanted your sprite to talk? You think it's possible? Of course it is. Cats, they meow, don't they? So we need to find a way to get the cat to meow whenever you click on it. So when you click on something, that's an event. So we're not doing a motion thing anymore. We're doing an event thing. So let's click on events, and all the event blocks are going to come up. So which one would we use to get the cat to speak? Let's look for something that says, when the sprite is clicked. I forgot to mention, the cat is also called a sprite. Any animated character that you put on there, and we're going to add another character, is called a sprite. Okay? So I'll be calling it a sprite too once in a while. So we want the cat to speak. And so when the sprite is clicked, do something, right? That's what that's the programming. But we really don't have to program. We just have to drag blocks. So when the sprite is clicked, and there it is right there, when the sprite is clicked. So I'm going to drag this, but you'll notice that I can't put it there. It doesn't fit there because it's a round. It's because it doesn't need to be part of that. It can go by itself because it happens throughout the whole animation. Whenever you click on the sprite, it's gonna meow. Okay, so we've got that part, but we also have to, when the sprite is clicked, we drag that over, but where are our sounds? Let's look. It's not under motion. It's not under events. It's got its own category called sound. It's the purple one. And if you click on the purple sound, we've got choices. And there it is, play sound until done. So I'm going to drag this one right over underneath. So it says, when sprite is clicked, play sound meow until done. Did that work? Let's find out. And you know how we find out, right? We click the green flag. He moved 25 steps, and let's click on it. You just made the sprite speak. So you can do that. It's kind of easy, right? Okay. So far, we've got the sprite moving 25 steps whenever we click on the flag. But what if you wanted the sprite, the cat, to move by itself without having to click on the flag all the time? You think it's possible? Of course it's possible. And here's the procedure. First thing we're going to do is we're going to click on the cat sprite. The cat sprite, oh, sorry. This is the cat sprite down here. If I add another sprite, it's going to appear right next to it. But right now, we've got the cat sprite. That's what we're working on. So the next thing we have to do is we have to, this is an event. So we're going to click on the events, and we're going to search for something that says repeat. Repeat, because we want this cat to keep repeating the steps without us having to do it for it. So there's a repeat function. And sorry, it's under control. Repeat. So we're going to drag the repeat And we're going to drag it and place it under, we're going to place this right under the flag. Did you see what happened? When I dragged that repeat over, it engulfed all of the other blocks in there. That means that whatever's inside that repeat is going to keep doing it. How often? Well, let's see what happens. I'm going to change this repeat number from 10 to 50. And let's see what happens now when I click the green flag. You see, the cat, I didn't have to keep clicking to get the cat to move, or the sprite to move. What if I did 100? I'm going to change that to 100. And this is great because you get to experiment and see what works for you. I change that to 100. And we see it went 100 times before it stopped. It moved 25 steps 100 times. It's pretty fast, but again, you can change the numbers. Okay, how you doing? It's easy, right? Okay. What if you wanted to add another sprite? The cat is very lonely on the beach. So let's add another sprite. So remember we went to the backdrops way down here in the corner? Well, right next to backdrops is something called sprite. You get to choose a sprite. It's right there at the bottom right. Click on it, and you're going to get all kinds of choices for different sprites. And if you scroll down, you'll see all kinds of different choices. For now, I'm just going to choose the apple. Now you'll see all my blocks in the middle are gone. But that's okay, because right now, if you look at the bottom, the apple is highlighted, and we haven't dragged any blocks for the apple. If you click on the cat next to it on the left, all of your blocks are still there. And if you click on the apple again at the bottom, that is a separate sprite. It's got no blocks yet because we haven't added any for the apple. So each sprite has its own set of programming instructions or its own set of blocks. Whichever sprite is highlighted, that is the sprite you're working on. For instance, you can tell, this is all blank, but you can see a little apple. That means you're working on the apple sprite. If you click on the cat at the bottom, you see the little cat here? That is telling you that you're working on the cat sprite. So let's click on the apple again, because maybe maybe you like red apples, but maybe you want to change the color. These sprites, you don't have to use exactly what they give you. You can change things on the sprite, which is really good. So maybe you'd like your apple to be green instead of red. Let's change that. So to change the color of the sprite, we have to first click on the apple, and then we're going to click on costumes. This little tab in the top left corner, costumes. Now, this is the screen that lets you change the look of the sprite. And so to change the color from red to green, first we have to do is choose the color, and that's where the fill box comes in. So I'm going to click the fill box and choose the color green. Okay. Now the fill box is green. How do we make the apple green? We click on the paint bucket, this little thing that looks like a paint bucket, and we click inside the apple, and now it's a green apple. That was kind of easy, right? It's also got an eraser, a paintbrush. You can add text to the apple. If you want to change, you can also change the size as well. And all you have to do to change the size is click on this little arrow and then click on this sprite right there, and here's where you can drag. But you have to be careful because I just dragged the apple, but I didn't select the little middle part of the apple. So I press Control Z to go back. You can also, there's the undo button. So even if you make a mistake, it's not that big a deal because you can always do the undo button or Control Z. If you want to make sure everything is selected, you just drag over the apple, and then you can make it a little bigger. And if you notice, the middle part went bigger, the apple on the beach went bigger as well. To add text to the apple or sprite, that's where the little T comes in. And if you click the T and then you click inside now, you'll notice it used the color purple because that's what was in the fill. If you want to change the color, then just change the fill. And whatever's highlighted will change. And so I have text in the apple, but it's too high. I want to put it in the middle. So I'm just going to click the arrow again and then just drag it a little bit down there. How we doing? Still pretty easy? Okay. Just going to stop sharing for one moment here. Okay, so there's one more thing I want to show you regarding Scratch, which I think you're going to like. And it's regarding the movement of the cat sprite. So let me just share my screen again and show you. So we were in the middle of creating an apple sprite, but let's go back to our code. So right now we're in costumes. Let's click code at the top left corner, code tab, to get back to our blocks of code. Okay, now the apple, if you look at the bottom right, the apple is still highlighted. So the apple is, anything you do would affect the apple, but I would like to do one more thing regarding the cat. So let's click on the cat sprite in the bottom right corner, the cat sprite. And when you click on that, there's our code. It never went away. It was just hidden while we were doing Apple stuff. So just to remind you, this is what happens when you click the green flag right now. See, the cat moves and repeats 100 times. Okay, now, what if we want the cat to move whenever we press one of the arrows? For instance, if we press the right arrow, the cat moves. Or if we press the left arrow, the cat moves the other way. Or if we press the up arrow, the cat goes up. You think that's possible? Absolutely. So here's how you do it. We are going to be adding an event, because these are all events. When you click on an arrow to get the cat to do something, that's an event. So we need to tell Scratch that when the right arrow is clicked, something's going to happen. When right arrow clicked. So we have to find a code that says when right arrow clicked, and that's an event. So if you click on events and you look for something that says when right arrow clicked. Now I don't see that, but I do see when space key is pressed. So that's close, and we can change that. So let's drag that one, when space key is pressed. And that's got a hump on it at the top, so it doesn't have to connect to anything else at the moment. But we don't want the space key to be pressed. We want when the right arrow is pressed. So if you click on that little space with the arrow next to it, it gives you a choice. And you can choose right arrow. When right arrow key pressed. Remember, our goal is when the right arrow key is pressed, it's going to move to the right. So what do we want it to do? We want it to point in the direction of right. So point in direction. We have to find something that says point in the direction. Where would that be? Is it under sensing? Let's see, point in direction. Could it be under motion? Point in direction. There's one, point in direction, because that's what we're doing, right arrow, point in direction. So we're going to drag this one, point in direction, 90. It says point in direction 90. And if you click on it, a little clock comes up. And you can tell that it's already 90. This is what we want, is because we want it to go right. If we wanted it to go down, we would move it down. If we wanted it to go left, we would move it left. If we wanted it to go up, we would move it up. But we don't. We want it to go right. So it was already there, 90. So we can leave that alone. We don't have to change it. So after we get it pointing in the right direction, we have to get it to move. So that's our motion. We're already in the motion, and we're going to drag our motion right underneath. When right arrow key pressed, point in direction, move, and I'm going to change that to 1. Move 1 step. Okay. What do you think is going to happen when I press the green flag now? Let's find out. So it does its thing. And then I can click on it. Still makes a noise. Now, I'm going to press the right arrow. Let's see what happens. I'm going to keep pressing it a few times so you can see. It is moving 1 step at a time. But when I press the left arrow, nothing happens. It's because we have to do the same thing now for the left arrow. Are you ready? Now, you could drag these same things for the left arrow, but there's an easier way to do it, and it's called duplicate. Okay, I don't want to drag three blocks again. I just want to duplicate what's there and change. So if you right-click on this, you'll see duplicate. So watch what happens when I hit duplicate. It creates a duplicate of what I just did, and then when I press again, it stops. Now I've got one that says right arrow, and this one says right arrow, but we don't need two right arrows, so I'm going to change the second one that I duplicated to left arrow. So this first one points 90, but the left arrow, we have to change that because it's not pointing in the right direction. So we have to point it. So we click on the 90, and remember, we have to make it go to the left. So this is the left right there. Move one step. Did it work? Let's find out. Click the green flag. It does its thing. I'm going to press the right arrow. It's working. Now I'm going to press the left arrow. It's working. You ready to do up and down? Because we still have to do up and down arrows. Okay, we're going to do our little shortcut, duplicate. So I'm going to click on either one, doesn't matter. Right click, duplicate. And then when you move your mouse and then click, another one is duplicated. So now we've got a right arrow, a left arrow, and a left arrow. Well, we don't need two left arrows, so I'm going to change the left arrow to up arrow. When up arrow key pressed, point in direction. Well, that's the wrong direction, so we're going to click on the -90, and we're going to move it up to the top, and that turns it to 0. Okay, and here we go. We're going to right-click on this one again, duplicate, and then click. Okay, so now we've got two up arrows. So let's change this one to down. Down arrow. And the direction, we have to make that pointing down. So we're going to click on the 0. Down. And that changes to 180. Okay, did this work? Final time, here we go. Let's see. Click the green flag. I'm going to click on the cat, still speaking. And now I'm going to click on the left arrow. Click on the down arrow. I'm just continuing to click on the down arrow one step. Now up. And then right arrow. And I can move this sprite out of the way. When I clicked on the apple, you'll notice that there's nothing in the middle. That's because we're looking at the apple programming. If I click the cat again, oh, there's the stop. Whichever sprite is highlighted at the bottom here, bottom right corner, that is what you're going to see in the middle. Okay. What do you think? Is it something you like to try? Well, that is an introduction to Scratch. Did you find it easy? The more you do it, the easier it's going to get. And there's so much more that it can do. And I'm just going to share my screen with you one more time to let you know about the Summer Reading Club. There is the secret code. Oh, that's not what I want. The secret code is, here we go, Eagle. So if you have more questions about Scratch, that's the website. Lots of information, frequently asked questions, and I just want to thank you very much for joining me here today to learn a little bit about Scratch coding. And please see the link on our website. There's a PDF that goes through what I just explained. You can go through it at your own pace to do all the activities that I just did. And we appreciate your feedback as well on our website, ajaxlibrary.ca. Thank you very much for joining me here today, and stay safe.